was on fire. It was the beginning of a terrible string of fires in California, and Thunderhill Raceway Park was only about 20 miles from the closest fire. Even the hotel I stayed at was housing the resting firefighters. The air was thick with smoke, and the day was going to be hot, pushing 100 degrees. I'm not sure any of us wanted to be there, but the racing was worth it. In my last video, I was at Thunderhill's East 3-mile course. This is Thunderhill West. Smaller, but still great.
All right, how many new people do I have here today? If you get nailed for passing under yellow, it's going to cost you a strike. You don't need strikes today. We're not playing baseball, we're driving a race car.
This time, I have no driving instructor, which leaves me as the only person to feel out the limits of this car on each of these turns, hoping I don't go beyond the limits. I've removed my front splitter just in case, plus I don't want it ripping off and becoming a hazard to the other drivers. Let me take you on the first warm-up lap to help you and I get oriented with the course, and then we'll move on to a faster lap. Out of the pits, we join turn 1 on the far right lane in case there's other cars still on the track. Then we merge in on turn 2. Turn 2 is a long, wide radius turn where you really get to press the limits of your tires, but be careful, the camber of the road changes. As you exit the turn, you throttle out in a short straightaway. And then turn 3 is interesting. You think you're going to go into S's, but really this is a straight shot through 2 turns, and it takes a lot of courage to hold the throttle in through these turns. Then turn 4 will get you. It's an off-camber turn, so it just doesn't feel right and it's easy to slide out. Then shooting towards the flag station, checking for flags like a caution, you shoot into another set of S's, and these again take courage to hold the throttle and just drive on through them without S'ing too much. Be careful not to carry too much speed into turn 6 because it can surprise you. You lose visibility of the turn for just a moment. You can apex and then head out to join turn 7, which is a hard hairpin to the left. Really got to slow down here. There's quite a turn angle on your steering wheel, and then accelerate out. Now, as you come up on this hill, it can get tricky. It's a blind apex. Right here you apex, but be careful if you're going too fast. The car loses a little traction as the weight is taken off the wheels, and you can easily slide out the left. Another tight hairpin through turn 9. Climb up the hill, and another hard left turn at turn 10 into the main straight. Go a little wide here, and it's a little scary staring at the tires, but then just join the wall and speed up. This is your moment to shine. Hold that throttle down, but get ready. The next S's will get you if you're too fast. My first session was kind of short, only about 3 laps because I got the checkered flag right when I was about to reach the pit section. So back to the pits, the brakes were literally smoking as they got nice and hot, but they held up really well. Now let's move on to the second session where I get to try to push the limits a little more. I was really happy to hear that my instructor from my last track day saw my name on the registration and moved me from the beginners group, group 1, into group 2 for being slightly more advanced. Now generally I don't have enough track time to move into group 2, but I was happy to hear that he thought I was ready. Now, although I much appreciated this, I still found myself somewhat choked off by some of the slower drivers in Group 2. However, there were a couple of car and driver combos that were a good match for me. You see, at the track, what's great is it's not just about the machine. For example, this GTR I chased throughout session 2. It's a much more capable car than the V-Sport, but the combination of the drivers in the 2 cars meant they were still a good match. Also, a BMW M3 or M4 that was at the course was also a great match. In this session, I chased the GTR, never quite able to pass, but in the next session, I led him and he was never quite able to pass me. Eventually though, both the GTR and I felt the curse of catching up to slower traffic. And it's one thing to catch up to slower traffic, but it's another thing when the slower traffic doesn't have the awareness to give you the point by. You see, in Group 2, you need the slower driver's permission in order to pass, for safety. In more advanced groups, this may not be the case. But as a bunch of slower cars all collect together, there's kind of no place to pass to. So your only option is to just ride along behind them, or maybe even exit to the pits temporarily. But overall, it can be frustrating when you're trying to set the best lap time, but every lap you get caught up behind some slower vehicle, especially one that doesn't let you pass easily. But I found that going fast isn't all that great either. Going too fast, for example, in this spot here, I overshot my corner and thankfully didn't go in the grass, but I definitely took quite a pothole at the edge of the asphalt. After session 2, I returned to the pits, ragged, sweaty, but absolutely thrilled. It was a great time.
The car got kind of hot. It's 100 degrees out, and the temperature of the gauge, temp gauge went up 3/4, which it never does. It never even creeps up to the half mark. So that was kind of surprising. And then I realized I left the air conditioning on. So yeah, don't do that on the track on a hot day like this. But the good news is these brakes are totally holding up. These are the Stoptech Rotors, and I'm using the HPS Plus or HP Plus pads. Maybe it's HPS Plus pads from Hawk. They are definitely not vibrating and shaking like my last ones were, and they don't fade. It's been really awesome. So enjoying that. The car's definitely holding back power because it's hot. I saw, boost stay in like 15 or less. Yeah, that's okay. It's just taking care of itself, so that's fine. At first I had StabiliTrak on, so it would interfere a little bit when the car started sliding, but I started getting annoyed, and since now I felt comfortable with the track, knowing where the surprises were, I turned off all nannies, and I definitely had a lot more room to work the car as I felt it slide, because by the time you kind of want to working that slide, the nannies start kicking in and they're like hitting the brakes on different tire wheels, and it's kind of annoying. So, but it's good to start out with them on, and then once you get going, it's okay to turn them off if you feel confident, but just remember, you got a chance to spin out without any traction control or stability on. So, all right, on to the next one.
And now on to session 3, where I set my best lap time of the day of 1 minute 30.286 seconds. Now I know that doesn't mean much to you, but for reference, the people that rented timers for the day had their times posted, and the fastest time of those people in group 2 was 1 minute 30.148. So I was feeling pretty good about my lap times. If you want to see what a C7Z06 does, check out the video in the top corner of your screen or link below for his 1 minute 18-second lap time. Now, I think one of the reasons I got my best lap time on this session is because I left the starting line at the lead of the pack, with the GTR chasing me the whole time. Therefore, we had the track all to ourselves, at least until we caught up to somebody else. And I did end up passing a Miata initially, and then the track was wide open again. And this gave me the opportunity to lay down some good time without getting caught up in traffic. Now, I'm using the Track Addict app, which is a free app to do lap timing. It's only as accurate as your phone's GPS, and in this case, my old Android isn't that great, but it's not bad. All the G-forces seem pretty accurate, and the time seems fairly accurate as well. The only reason I'm able to pull off 1.2 or more G-forces is because I'm using Bridgestone RE71R tires. They're autocross and track competition tires, but still street legal. They are amazing. Track Addict is really great because it breaks the track into 6 sectors. And out of the 20-minute session, it will look at all 6 sectors of each lap and put all the best sectors together to give you a theoretical lap time. That is, if you drove the best you've driven on each of the 6 sectors, add them up and you would have your best lap time. In this case, it gave me a theoretical lap time of 1 minute and 25. But obviously, it's real-world numbers that count, and today I just did the 130. So here we are on session 4, and just like autocross, a few sessions in, you find yourself finding the limits. And when you're finding the limits, you're getting messy. You're hitting cones, you're going off track. So here I was, into this lap, and at the first turn, I was already stuck behind these slower cars. Sorry for the video quality. Apparently my phone camera decided to focus on the bugs rather than the outside. I had my GoPro running, but I actually put it on the side of the car this time, and it didn't record, which is too bad because this is some good footage. Thankfully, these two slower cars let me by at the first straight, and because of my impatience, of course I got messy. I saw it immediately, right here. I caught the pothole, cutting the turn a little too short. And then going into turn 4, going a little bit wide, catching the overrun, just missing the grass. I should have pulled myself back at this point, but I didn't. Going through the turn 5 S's, no problem. And then coming into turn 6, this is where I screwed up. Let's look at my best lap and see how it should have looked. Coming through 70 miles an hour, accelerating through turn 6, not bad. There's an overrun there, just catch it barely. And then go into turn 7 with no problem. That's how it should have looked. Unfortunately, for this round, even though I was going a little slower entering turn 6, the car, I think, had a little more forward weight distribution and started sliding out. I corrected a little too slow and decided to just let it go straight into the grass rather than sideways, because then I'd have no control and I could have gone into the tires. Let's see that one more time in slow motion. 68 miles an hour, starting the slide. There's 75 miles an hour, 77, and getting under control off the throttle into the grass. Now, it wasn't too long before this, I just talked to somebody and they gave me the advice of not flipping over like the car did in the previous session because they went sideways in the grass. I just focused on going straight. Based on the tire marks, I'm clearly not the only person that's done this here.
Well, that was a fun ride. Unfortunately, the side GoPro wasn't working. It would have caught the rodeo for you. I did end up going off track. Car started sliding. I corrected, started going the other way, and you know what? A car just rolled over before this by going in the dirt, going sideways, and there's all these divots it could roll over. So I just swallowed, kept going straight. It's the best thing you can do, and I went through a ton of grass, and unfortunately, I lost the center cap. And looks like everything else is okay though. No other damage. Yeah, that wheel looked like crap in the first place.
Now, I really felt bad for the car. I love how beautiful this car is, but thankfully, at least the front end of the car is wrapped in paint protection film, protecting it from incidents like this, and I took the splitter off. But I'm glad I did, because boy, it sure did take a beating from these weeds, and the spines on these things will go right through leather gloves. The combination of the outside air temps and the brake temperatures were so hot that they melted my center caps and they no longer fit properly. Alright, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching my first experience at Thunderhill West. I hope that you learned something not only about this track, but about racing in general and holding back, keeping your patience, and keeping control of the car. If you love your car, it's not worth going off the track, so take it easy out there. Just learn your lessons safely. Be sure to, of course, like this video. It really helps me out. Subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when my next video comes out. Thanks so much for watching the Jeff Viola channel. I'll see you in the next one.